Da, da. Good morning, Bravehearts, and good morning, Garfield, New Jersey. Welcome back to Marv in the Morning. Today we have a very, very special episode for you, the Great Die Hard Christmas Debate. I have what I consider to be the Mount Rushmore of Bravery Studios movie quoters here in the Zoom chat, in the Zoom room. Immediately, I guess that's my left there. We have Hugo Boy in the top left. Hugo, plug your pod. Tell me what you think.
Absolutely. The You Go Boy podcast, live from Bravery Studios, about 2-3 times a month. We get in there. We just wrapped episode 12 and wrapped for the year for 2022. Of course, my stance real quickly. I think it's a Christmas movie. Bruce Willis is my guy. He's always been my guy. Fifth Element is a very underrated movie. I mean, I know they're not talking about Fifth Element, but I didn't listen. I love me some Bruce. I know he's got some health issues going on. Godspeed to him. But yeah, it is absolutely a Christmas movie. I actually watched it last Christmas, and I had a debate actually with my mom the following morning because she hadn't seen it before. But I gave her the premise of it, and she was just like, "Wow." She's just surprised. We enjoyed it, but yeah, definitely a Christmas movie, 1000%. Shout out to
Awesome. Okay, and then on the bottom left, we have Jason Enrique, first class, second place podcast. Plug your jazz and tell us what you think.
What's going on, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jason Enrique of the First Class, Second Place podcast. Thank you for joining in today. Shout out to Marv, shout out to Chris, shout out to Hugo for joining me on this great debate. I'm going to be alone on this island, it seems like, but it's okay. I'm used to the world being against me. I'm close to 70 episodes on the podcast so far.
Congrats.
Right now, I'm live and direct in Miami. I'm doing a couple of shows down here as well. So even though I'm on vacation, the grind never stops. I'm having so much fun doing it. I can't wait for you guys to catch it if you haven't yet. And if you have caught the show or been on the show already, thank you so much. You're much appreciated. All the love and support. And I'm just glad to be here, spending the time with the friends. But I'm also looking forward to this little show that we're going to present to you right now.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And right below me, the man of the hour, some would say, Chris Abalo of Chris Abalo's podcast Experiment. Chris, plug your pod and give us your stance.
Well, thank you for the generous intro. I'm not the man of this hour. If it was 9 p.m., yes. But I mean,
Yeah.
Movies early in the morning. You don't call me, but I love you, Marvin. So that's why.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, yes, Chris Abalo's podcast Experiment. We just wrapped up for the year as well. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow the show at Cape Pod on Instagram, TikTok. YouTube has handles now, so you can search youtube.com, Cape Pod, Chris Abalo's podcast, whatever. And check it out. Just finished 220 episodes. Going to be coming back early this year. Thank you very much. Look at that.
Well done, man. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done, man.
And Marvin was the guest on 219. We did more like a crossover. It wasn't really an interview. We just kind of had a 2-hour discussion back and forth, a little bit of his history, a little bit of my history, which was great. So if you're a fan of Marvin, maybe you'll become a fan of mine if you listen to Cape 219. But anyway, yes, we are here to discuss Die Hard this morning. And Marvin, thank you for having all of us.
Yes.
I would like to close out this debate by saying the entire movie takes place on Christmas Eve. It's a Christmas movie. There's nothing more to be said. And that's it. Everybody have a good day.
Hey, la vie.
Okay, so let's start with Jason. Let's start with Jason. Considering he's the wild card here, and he's used to being against the world, I guess he's the Rocky of this tale, and everyone likes an underdog tale. So he may walk away with this converting all of us. So let's see what happens.
John McClane, he's the underdog.
He's the underdog. He's not even wearing shoes right now in honor of Die Hard. So go ahead, Jay. Tell us why it's not a Christmas movie.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to reiterate that Die Hard, without a doubt, I don't think this is any debate at all, that Die Hard is one of the greatest, maybe the greatest action movie ever made. I mean, it's definitely up there. People always say that it's number one as far as top 5, top 10 action movies. There's no denying it. It's the movie that made Bruce Willis a star, a bona fide star at that. And there's no taking the fact it's classic title. There's no debating that the fact that it has spawned so many different spin-offs and so many other action movies that have been trying to rip it off for so many years, even still goes on to this day. So there's no debate that Die Hard is a great movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's the movie that made Bruce Willis a star, and it is one of the greatest action movies ever made. Some even say that it's the greatest, even though I think that Die Hard 3 is much better than the first one. But that's a thing for another day. But as far as a Christmas movie, I'm just like you guys. I used to think that at one point that it was a Christmas movie, but then there was a couple of things that kind of made me realize that, you know what, maybe it's not so. Maybe it isn't so much after all, and I'm going to explain. So the movie does take place around Christmas time. Now, you said earlier, Chris, that it takes place on Christmas Eve, but I don't know if it really says that it's on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I don't think they really mentioned that. I got to go back to see that, but I don't really get the sense that they mentioned that it is on Christmas Eve. So it's set on a Christmas party. And, this is when, Bruce Willis, for anybody that's not familiar with the movie, Bruce Willis is a New York cop. He flies to Los Angeles to reconcile with his wife and be with his family during the holiday season. And the majority of the movie takes place in a Nakatomi building, which is the building where his wife works out of. And then terrorists take over it, and then he has to save the day. So during the beginning of the movie, you may have some kind of elements that let you know that it's set around Christmas time. I mean, they play Christmas in Hollis by Run DMC. It takes place at a Christmas party, has some Christmas music in the background, and so on and so forth. But the only time that you ever get remembered that it's during Christmas time is when it's in the building. Whenever there's scenes where it's outside of Los Angeles, whether it's with the police or with the news and everything, there's no mention of Christmas of it anywhere. And then you kind of get taken out of the element that this is a hostage situation going on, and it's solely focused on that. And then there's only little elements here and there that reminds you every now and then, like, oh, wait a minute, this is set during Christmas time. Whereas other movies that I do consider Christmas movies are a constant reminder in your face that this is a Christmas movie. You're in the holiday spirit. You're during the holiday times. And I feel like Die Hard is too sporadic and it's not consistent enough to make you think that it is a Christmas movie. And there's no Santa Claus. At least I don't remember anything. There's no real spirit that shows it. And even the tagline, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker," is not Christmas worthy at all. So, and then afterwards to finally put a little bit of a bow on it, to coin a phrase, me being a movie fanatic, I watch a lot of Christmas movies back to back during the holiday season. I've watched Deck the Halls, I've watched Christmas with the Cranks, I've watched Santa Claus, I've watched this, that, and the third. And out of all of those, if I put Die Hard into that mix, I feel like I'm actually taking a little bit out of my element. And you could even say that Die Hard 2, was a pretty decent movie also. You can make some people can make the argument that it's a Christmas movie more than the first one, because everywhere it goes, yes, it's set in an airport for most of the movie, but you're also taking around the other side of the airport, and it has more elements of a Christmas movie than the first one. And one of the big ones, I think, is a factor is snow. I mean, the movie takes place in Los Angeles. There's no snow. There's none of the elements and like that. So it kind of takes me out of the element that it's a Christmas movie. Whereas other Christmas movies that we know for sure are Christmas movies never let you forget that you're watching a holiday movie.
He's had some good points there. I'm not gonna lie. You go. You want to start with your rebuttal?
I mean, first and foremost, I mean, like Chris had mentioned, I mean, I'd have to go rewatch it. The last time I watched it was last Christmas. What I always do is, quick backstory on me. My family, we celebrate Christmas on actual Christmas Day. We don't celebrate on Christmas Eve. We don't do anything on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Day, we do a party, and then we open up gifts at night. So
Okay.
so we started that tradition years and years ago. So when the party's over, the gifts are over, and it's kind of like my time, I always put on a Christmas movie so I can, finally decompress from, and we typically host too. So it's been a long day. When I watched Die Hard the last time I watched it, it was 100% Christmas vibes. Not to mention the fact that the real villain is his wife, because she still divorces him after all of it, which is madness, which is madness, But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean, Bruce Willis is in a giving spirit. He's giving out beatings and shootings the entire movie. You know what I mean? So you got that going on, and on top of that, just the vibe and the energy. You mentioned the parties. I mean, the Christmas party that's going on. I mean, the first group gathering you see in the movie is a Christmas party. I mean, it doesn't get much more Christmas than a Christmas party. You know what I'm saying? And not to mention Los Angeles, the way they celebrate Christmas in Los Angeles is not the same way they celebrate it here on the East Coast or in New York, where Bruce is originally from. You see what I'm saying? So you're and Jason, you're even seeing this yourself in Miami right now. Like they don't celebrate Christmas in Miami the way they celebrate on the
Yeah,
East Coast.
dude. To quote one of my favorite Christmas movies, Home Alone 2, who wants to spend Christmas in a tropical climate anyway?
Exactly. So I mean, so like I said, I get Christmas vibes when I watch the movie. I get Christmas vibes throughout the scenes, especially inside the building. Most of the action takes place. Obviously, the crescendo is outside the building of the movie, with Carl Winslow making an appearance as well.
The one and only Carl
The
Winslow.
one and only. But yeah, it gives me Christmas vibes every time I watch it, and I don't need to necessarily have to watch it around Christmas time. But and not just and my final point is, I mean, the fact that he's trying to get home to his family and that he gets caught up in this very, very inauspicious situation or whatnot, but still has to overcome it because knowing that I can't die. If I die, I'm gonna lose my family. I'm gonna lose the people that I'm even doing this for. Aside from obviously trying to save as many people as I can in this building from this hostage situation. You know what I mean? I mean, what's more Christmas than that than a father breaking his back to try to get gifts for his kids or his family or his wife or bring home the bacon or bring home the Christmas ham or whatever. I know the gender dynamics are have been altered over years or whatnot, but the traditional role of the father is to be the provider and to be the guy who comes through to make Christmas even happen to begin with. So I see Bruce carrying that torch. I see it with the Christmas vibe, and it's definitely in the Christmas spirit. So yes, 100%. Die Hard 1 is a Christmas movie, 100%. I'm a Christmas.
Great points there. Great points. There's nothing less Christmas than dying.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Chris, you got a follow up for that, bro?
I do. Well, first of all, lest we forget, John McClane's wife is named Holly, and that's Christmas as fuck.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, I mean, when I hear about Holly or see Holly, I don't think of Good Friday. So I immediately go to it's Christmas. All right. So every time her name's repeated, it's like, oh, it's Christmas. Now it's funny. Is there any mention of Christmas Eve? And to tie in with the point about, well, when they're outside the party and everything, that there isn't any it doesn't feel like anything about Christmas Eve. The first thing I thought of was when they're going to cut the power to the building and they got the maintenance guy down the sewer. He's like, you're going to cut the power to however many houses on Christmas Eve? So it was Christmas Eve.
That's right.
Start. So it confirmed it is Christmas Eve. And lest we forget, that's also the reason John McClane's coming out there to see his kids and to see his estranged wife. So Christmas is the catalyst for the whole. That's the only reason he's in the wrong place at the wrong time, is because he was going out there to spend Christmas with his family after this separation and Holly taking the kids and all that. So you can't kind of take away while the vibe, and I agree, like I spent 8 years in Los Angeles and it's not particularly Christmassy. It's a bit strange when he was playing Frosty the Snowman and the palm trees are flapping in the wind. It does, and I always flew, with the exception of one Christmas, Christmas 2007, I stayed out there just because I was broke and couldn't afford an overpriced flight home back to Jersey. But otherwise, every Christmas I've come home and it didn't feel like Christmas until like December 22nd, like today, when I actually flew in and I'm like, oh, it's freezing and I can get Dunkin' Donuts. It's Christmas time, everybody. So, and also when, what's his name? Carl's brother, when Homeboy comes down the elevator shaft, he puts the Santa hat on him and now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. I mean, there's Christmas references throughout the entire movie to remind you like, oh, right, it's Christmas Eve. Oh, right. I mean, aside from the building decorations and everything, it's the reminder that's what's going on. And I will say, I know people debate this all the time, and I'm gonna ride the fence a little bit, because I feel like people get very precious when it comes to what counts as a Christmas movie and what doesn't, especially when it comes to like action movies. Like somehow they don't count. a lot of people will kind of bring up the discussion about like, yeah, but you can watch it all year. Well, that's fine. I mean, you can watch any horror movie all year, but they're flipping October. Like, it just kind of amps it up a little bit. But I feel like people get just very precious about that. The idea of just like, yeah, but I can watch Die Hard in July. It's like you can watch Rudolph in July too. Like, that's fine. Like, nobody's, it has to be so rigid. But I just find it funny that like this seems to be the line. I mean, the same thing people say that about the first Lethal Weapon movie, basically any Shane Black movie. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Kiss Goodnight and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and I think The Nice Guys takes place at Christmas, probably.
even Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah, not a Christmas movie.
No, but well, it's set around it, but I'm saying it's also a Shane Black movie.
Right. Yeah. Well, even Iron Man 3. I mean, you don't think Christmas when you watch Iron Man 3.
Right.
Which I like. I know that's a polarizing movie, but every Shane Black movie is set at Christmas. But again, because they're action movies, people kind of have a weird feeling about it just because they're just like, yeah, but I don't need to watch it at Christmas. No, of course not. You can watch anything. Like, you can watch Home Alone, in May if you want to. It's like Happy Mother's Day. Well, let's watch Home Alone. But
yeah.
Right.
I feel like this is kind of an argument that people get very rigid about just because it's an action movie and it's a hard R and it's violent and it's crude and it's bloody, but that's the fun of it. But I feel like as far as the entire vibe, the idea that this whole thing is happening because it's Christmas, Theo. It's a season of miracles. Everything happens because it's Christmas Eve. And if I'm wrong and the entire movie doesn't take place on Christmas Eve, because we know it definitely starts there, if anything, maybe it ends after midnight and it ends on Christmas Day. That's still pretty Christmas in my book. So I say Die Hard's a Christmas movie, but watch it whenever the hell you want because it is an excellent movie. It's definitely one of the best action movies of all time. I mean, it spawned every generic action movie in the 90s, like Die Hard and Air Force One. What's it called? Air Force One.
Exactly. Die Hard on the plane. Yeah.
What am I gonna call it? Under Siege, which was the first non-3-word Steven Seagal movie title. If you didn't notice, it was Above the Law.
You learn something new every day. Look at that.
Justice, Hard to Kill, Under Siege, Broken Pattern. There you go. You guys are movie buffs. So I'm just throwing it out there. It's like they do all have 3-word titles. Anyway, I'm having a lot of coffee because I'm not usually up this early, so I'm a little amped up. I'm gonna carry on, and someone's gonna have to signal me to bring me back down.
It's all good. I love it.
Marv in the morning, getting you up early. That's what we do.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it is one of the greatest action movies of all time, hands down. But I think it falls under the Christmas category. It's not going to feel as Christmas as Home Alone, which is Chicago, and there's a foot of snow in every scene, at least outside the house. And, there's just constant reminders with decorations and everything that it's not to compete with Christmas movies that are absolutely like just have Christmas straight through, like Christmas Vacation or anything like that, where it's like basically.
Right.
I still say it qualifies because all of it's happening strictly because it's Christmas. And it's, now Machine Gun Ho 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 and everything. To me, it's just Christmas vibes, just like this fancy Wawa holiday coffee cup. Anyway, sorry.
Wow, free promo for Wawa.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to Wawa if they want to send boxes of Joe to
there you go.
Bravery Studios.
Let's pray.
Well, that'd
be a Christmas miracle.
Yeah. Well, before I bring my arguments to those, I just want to say that first of all, Chris, you got a tremendous voice for radio and for podcasting, man. So yeah, it's pretty good. So. Yeah. So with that being said, you guys made great points. I think you kind of touched on some of the points that I already made, but I also wanted to point out some other things. First of all, we all know that Bruce Willis, this was his coming out. This is the movie that made him a star and so on and so forth. If it wasn't for Die Hard, he probably would have still done, shit like Moonlighting or whatever the case may be. Or who knows, maybe he might go back to being a bartender, which was what he did before he was an actor. But even the star of the movie has said on so many occasions that this is not a Christmas movie.
Oh.
And I feel like if the star of the movie says that it's not a Christmas movie, it holds some weight. You got to take it into some consideration. And, also prayers to Bruce Willis because he's going through it right now. He's going through some mental health problems and, he's unfortunately retired from acting, but that still doesn't change the fact that he's an icon in Hollywood. And this is one iconic character that he created in John McClane. And second, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but this movie was actually marketed initially as a summer blockbuster because it came out in July 1988. Right. So usually Christmas movies would come sometime sometime after Halloween, like November, like a little bit before Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving, and then they're marketed as Christmas movies. I think it's just that millennials, no offense to you guys, but I think over time have actually made it into a Christmas movie, even though it was not initially. If you watch this documentary series on Netflix, called "The Movies That Made Us." One of the episodes focuses on Die Hard. Neither the actors nor the director nor the writer or producer say that it is a Christmas movie. Like, they said it's set around it, but they never marketed it as a Christmas movie. It was initially supposed to be marketed as a summer blockbuster, even though I don't think you can really market it as a summer blockbuster either. But the fact that it wasn't marketed as one, and the fact that Bruce Willis himself has said that it's not a Christmas movie, kind of holds weight to it as well. And it also kind of goes back to, like, maybe you mentioned earlier, Lethal Weapon. Like, Lethal Weapon was kind of set like around Christmas time, but it's not in your face. Like, you have to be kind of have little tidbits and reminders that it is set around the Christmas time. I think that the same thing could be said about Die Hard. It's just that Die Hard is just a little bit more of a reminder. Like, it's a constant snooze button that reminds you that it's during Christmas time, not as much as Lethal Weapon. Like, Lethal Weapon is just like folding it in way early. And like I said before, I feel like you can make the argument that Die Hard 2 is more. I don't consider that really a Christmas movie, but I feel like you can make more of an argument that it's more of a Christmas movie than the first one, because there's just a lot more elements to it that added more of a Christmassy feel than the first one. It's just that the first one is so iconic that people tend to overlook the second one. And as far as, like, being marketed as an action movie, you kind of take it, out of the element. I mean, you could kind of say the same thing with Home Alone. I mean, there's definitely violence in there. I mean, some people would say that, oh, it's not really a Christmas movie. It's more just about child abuse. Or you could even do, or even you could do Bad Santa. Bad Santa is a vulgar movie, but that is marketed as a Christmas movie, and the title Santa is in the title, so that makes it more of a Christmas movie. And it takes place in New Mexico, but they still show you that it's in your face all the time that it's a Christmas movie, more so than Die Hard is, even though it's marketed as a Christmas movie. So I think it's more of a case that it's become an iconic movie over time, and then millennials want to put a label on everything that it kind of now is realized as a Christmas movie, even though that was not its initial reaction.
Well, I mean, I would push back against that 100% because film is art, and art is up for interpretation. It's the same with music. It's the same with paintings. It's the same with sculptures. You know what I mean? Like, when Michelangelo created the David, like, did he, like, when he was sculpting it, was he thinking in his mind, this is going to be picked apart and this is going to be in museums all around the world, and this is going to be viewed at as one of the greatest pieces of art ever? No, he was sculpting it because he was honestly, he was probably doing it for food. You know what I mean? During the Gilded Age of the medieval times, wherever he was born,
Hungry times.
during
the hungry time.
There you go. Yeah.
During the original Hunger Games was during that period. So the way, and a great example of that is cult films like Big Lebowski. All right, like the Big Lebowski. First of all, I saw Big Lebowski for the first time during a pandemic. I had seen references from it for the longest. Every time memes, it came on TV a billion times, and I would just flip through it, and I'm just like, what, like the stupidest thing. Like, what is this? Then I realized that friggin' Jeff Bridges is actually a Big Lebowski. I was like, yo, wait a minute, I've seen that dude before on TV or whatnot, and I was like, yo, get out of here. And Steve Buscemi's in it, and just on and on and on. When
Jason doesn't like that movie either, by the way.
Yeah, and plus, are we talking about the Big Lebowski, or are we talking about Die Hard? I mean, what are we doing here?
Listen, I'm just trying to make my point.
Okay.
About how audiences carry and really dictate legacies of film. Not the filmmakers, not the actors, not the performances. It's the audience. It's the people. The people will decide if it's a hit or if it's going to stand the test of time. And if the people over years, over time, not just millennials, but Gen Z as well, and other eras or groups deem it and associate it with the themes and with the elements of Christmas, which are in the movie. Again, we just outlined it perfectly. It's not like there's like one Christmas element. Like, okay, the only time you see any type of Christmas reference is when Bruce Willis has a Christmas hat on. If that was the case, and it was never mentioned. There was no Christmas party. It was never stated that it was on Christmas Eve, and there were no Christmas references. Okay, then you can say that, but it's right with Christmas references throughout the movie. But my point is, just like the Big Lebowski, just like several other, just like Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction wasn't looked at as a big major classic genre-defining film or whatnot. Quentin Tarantino was the same for Reservoir Dogs. A lot of Tarantino movies weren't really cult cult films until over time they age like fine wine, and the audience made up their mind. It was like, yo, this is amazing. This is brilliant. And then we're gonna assign what it is. The directors don't get to say who that is. They have obviously when they talk about it, you want to hear their take on it, but they don't make that final decision, because if that was the case, they just make movies for themselves. The only people that would watch it would be the people that worked on it. No, the audience watches it. The world watches it,
Yeah.
and then they come to the conclusion of and decide what it is, and if it stands the test of time or whatnot. I mean, again, it's the same because again, film is art, and art is open to interpretation. You know, so
Right.
so I would push back on that and say that if this is the overwhelming view, depending on what age group you talk about, or age demographic, or movie buff, or casual movie goer, if this is what it morphed into over time, say la vie. That's just what it is, and you know,
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
But the thing is that what you're absolutely right about, like Pulp Fiction not being known as a classic back then, and so on and so forth, and then it morphed and evolved over time. But I think that only stands true that the fact that Die Hard has morphed into one of the greatest action movies ever made, and one of probably the greatest action movie ever made, not necessarily morphed into an actual Christmas movie. So that from that theory that you mentioned, I think it only applies to the status of what the movie is, as far as like an action movie, because that's what it is first and foremost. Like, people want to say that it's a Christmas movie, they may agree or disagree. There's no disputing the fact that it's an action movie. So I feel like, for your argument, I would only really apply it to it evolved to possibly the greatest action movie ever made, and there's no debating that. But I think that there's people that are going to debate whether it's a Christmas movie or not, that maybe it really hasn't fully morphed into what you think it may have just yet. Maybe that's just your own opinion. And like, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about millennials just wanted to put a label on everything and so on and so forth. And, you know, one thing that we happen to know about millennials, and no offense to millennials that are watching this, but it's kind of like, you know, monkey see, monkey do type of thing. Like, oh, if somebody says that it's a Christmas movie, like, oh, I guess it is a Christmas movie, without really any real evidence to back it up. And I feel like the only ones that are doing it right now is just you and me, and also Chris and
what do you think, Chris? Is it just osmosis? Is that why we call it Christmas?
I agree that when you put something out there, what's a film, an album, any kind of art that goes out there, it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the audience. And hence, I think that's why, you know, like I said, people get very uptight about, because it's an action movie. It's just like, no, it's an action movie, not a Christmas movie. Like, the two things have to be mutually exclusive.
Right.
I think it's fans. And I say this half out of love, not entirely, because film fans are assholes too. But I think that people get very tight about their opinions, where it's just like, well, it can be both, because film is subjective, and that's the fun. That's why we like reading it. You know, I'm sitting here, you know, my eyes got as wide as they did, because it's like, what do you mean you didn't see Big Lebowski till 2020? You know, on your radar, and that's fine. I mean, I watched it on a friend's, 13-inch TV in his bedroom on his, VHS back in the days, and I'm like, what is this movie? I hadn't even heard of it, because it came and it went. And the audience ultimately kind of dictates the legacy of a movie. I mean, the easy example, the first one that comes to my mind is just like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Oh my God, it's a family classic, and but it was a huge flop when it came out. The only people who went and saw it on acid, and they probably enjoyed it because but anyway, but like, it's become this family classic that it wasn't 50 years ago. Just over time, that's what it's become, and that's kind of what the audience has made it. And I feel like that's why Die Hard falls into the Christmas category, because I mean, even when it gets re-released in theaters, I've gone to see it more often than not in theaters, and when we have re-release screenings, it's been December, and it hasn't been in July when it came out originally. It's just like, it's Die Hard, when the anniversary of Die Hard rolls around, like next year's gonna be 35 years. I guarantee if like Fathom Events or one of those companies does like, a 35th anniversary Die Hard screening, it's going to be in December, because that's what the audience recognizes it as, more or less. I'm going to say probably more than not. But again, it's like, if someone doesn't consider a Christmas movie, like, I'm not going to fight them about it. I'm not going to hop on a plane to Miami and just be like, what do you mean it's not a movie? I got shit to do.
Yeah. Put them on.
Yeah, I'm going to settle my dude's hash over this, because it's a Christmas movie. And yes, I usually watch it in December, but it's not like I won't watch, Die Hard in
right.
whatever time of year. But yeah, I do think once you put it out there, regardless of what the writers, producers, and the star say, I think that it ultimately is up to the audience. Because look, we could put this out there. This could become someone's holiday tradition. And every December, they're like, let's watch that Zoom panel again. We don't like, it's not our intention. But it's like, if
maybe we should have wore Santa hats.
Yeah.
We didn't think this through, guys. We should have had a Zoom meeting about the Zoom meeting, and then we could have tried to make this into a thing. And in 4 years, people just gonna be like, let's watch that Bravery Studios show again. But anyway, so I look at it as, again, all subjective. My opinion is that yes, once you put something out there, then the audience dictates the legacy, and if that's why a lot of people have, let's say, adopted Die Hard, while it wasn't conceived of or released as a Christmas movie or marketed as a Christmas movie. Ultimately, time has kind of bore it out, but time has shown us that people embrace it as a Christmas movie, and again, like screenings in December and all that. Now, I do want to ask this: if you guys, speaking about seeing movies for the first time, have any of you been the one to show Die Hard to somebody for the first time? Have you ever been lucky enough?
Okay, so
you haven't seen Die Hard? Oh, buckle up.
Okay, so not with Die Hard. With my favorite movie of all time is Coming to America.
Great movie.
That is my favorite movie. I grew up and still am the biggest Eddie Murphy fan in the world. I say that proudly. I wear that badge with honor. And I had a friend of mine, a young lady. She's from Dominican Republic. And she was here studying med school and then moved back to DR to finish her studies. And we were talking, and she had mentioned that she'd heard about the movie. She knows who Eddie Murphy is, obviously, who doesn't? But she had never seen it before. So we virtually watched the first Coming to America together. This was about 2 years ago. It was actually around the same time that Coming to America 2 came out on Amazon Prime, which I watched it with my family. We enjoyed it. Coming to America, exactly. But no. So I showed her for the first time. We watched it together, and we talked about it afterward. And it was very enjoyable. And it is one of those movies that I was actually talking about with a close friend of mine yesterday. It's one of those movies that if you're like watching TV, or you're like multitasking with the TV on in the background, and you flip the channels and you see that it's on. Okay, I'm stopping what I'm doing, and okay, this is what we're doing. We're watching this now. Totally. Or if you can't sleep and you're flipping through the channels and the insomnia hits as creatives, and it comes on like, okay, we're not sleeping. We're watching watching Come to America or Blues Brothers or Animal House.
Goodfellas. We're talking Goodfellas.
Or Goodfellas.
That's another one. Like at whatever point it's at, I'm in.
I'm in.
Until the end.
Yep.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying here, Guido.
Yeah. So for me, it wasn't with Die Hard. It was definitely with Coming to America.
I got it. See, it was 5 years ago, and I had to go back and scroll through in preparation for this. I'm like, what year was that? It was 5 years ago. It was December of 2017, nice. And I was in my last December out living in Los Angeles, and there was a ArcLight Cinemas. Sadly, they didn't survive the pandemic, so R.I.P. ArcLight.
Oh, R.I.P.
But they would have a bunch of AFI screenings and stuff like the American Film Institute. For anyone who doesn't, they're like, what? We know it is. But they, for anyone who's like, what's he talking about? What is this band? What does this emo band have to do with it? But they would also have like holiday movies that they would show during the month of December. And so I had a friend who was also a transplant. She was from Kentucky, who'd never seen Die Hard. And she was a few years younger than me, maybe like 8-9 years younger. So she was in her 20s. And I'm like, how did you make it this far in life? And having not seen Die Hard, like, you got a father, you got a brother, like, what happened? So I was like, we're going, because I said, I'm jealous, because the first experience I had watching Die Hard was, edited to hell on
like
1990, watching it again on like a 19-inch TV, and I'm like, you're getting to see it. It's going to look pristine, because it's 2017 and everything looks better than it used to, and it's been remastered or whatever. And I was like, you get to see it in a theater, in this awesome theater in the capital of show business. I was like, this is going to be amazing. And it's funny to watch someone's reactions to stuff like that, because the gasping when something happens, or obviously the laughs, and she's just looking at Alan Rickman. And she's like, "It's Snape." I'm like, "It's not though. Like before Snape." She's like, shout out to the Harry Potter nerds. And anyway, something like, but no, this is not like, this is completely different. Like, you'll see just how good he is. And to start out, by the way, cannot be said enough. That's that man's film debut. I mean, all downhill from there. I mean, it went not for him, but for most people, just be like, I peaked. I've done Die Hard. That's it. I'm gonna go live my life out in the theater.
He's not The Rock. No shots.
So, it was great. And the idea, the biggest gasp from her, which I thought was great, and I remember this, was, obviously after the roof explodes, the building jump, one of the
the climax.
Oh yeah, the crescendo.
And McClane ends up swinging into the window. The reel from the fire hose drops and starts dragging him down.
Right.
He's gonna slide out the window, and she just goes, "No." And it was great. The moment because you kind of forget, because I'm watching it and I've seen it 20, 30 times, and kind of caught up in, especially being immersed in it in the movie theater.
Right.
And the crowd was very quiet and respectful and everything. I mean, people are laughing where they're supposed to, and all that, but it was funny. Kind of took me back to like, oh right, you don't know what happens in your mind. He's gonna die. Like, he could die every 5 minutes, which is the fun of Die Hard, which is what they lost in later movies, where it's just like, he's a superhero. John McClane fights a jet in the 4th movie. He's gonna be fine. It's like whatever. But in the 1st movie, it's like he's gonna die every time. Like, how is he not bled out by now? But that was great. I did like that I was able to do that. And that same friend had also never seen Terminator 2.
Oh my God! Yes.
We got to see that in the theater. I mean, unfortunately,
Jason's leaving. We lost him.
Good night, everybody. But unfortunately, it was when they did a 3D re-release for that, so it was in 3D. But still, to see it in the theater the first time, I'm like, I'm jealous. Like, you are getting to experience this for the first time, and like
that is true. Yeah.
Experience. So that I will say, I'm glad I was able to introduce one person, probably the last person who hadn't seen Die Hard, at least of a certain age, get to like sit down, just be like, you need to watch this movie and you need to enjoy it, and hopefully it will be your tradition. I don't know if it became her holiday tradition. Maybe I should have checked in. Unless she's just like, that's an action movie. Why did we watch it in December?
You changed her life. Like, there's like altars of like Bruce Willis and Schwarzenegger in her house now.
Maybe. Well, she's just like, you want to see this movie because he's from Jersey. I'm like, no, not just doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Not just that, as he wraps up his tattoos with Bruce Willis.
Unfortunately, I haven't. I don't think I've ever been able to show anybody the movie Die Hard, because I feel like in my circles, it's such a classic that everybody has already seen it.
Same problem.
Yeah, same problem with me. But those are some valid points. But the thing is, what I keep coming back to is that whenever I watch a legitimate Christmas movie, a legitimate one, I always feel I never forget that not only I'm watching a Christmas movie, but I feel like I'm in the spirit. Like, I actually feel like I'm in the Christmas time. And whenever I watch Die Hard, especially during December, I don't get that sense. Like, I get reminded every now and then that, oh yeah, it's during Cedric Christmas, but I don't feel that holiday spirit the way that other Christmas movies actually make me feel like I'm in the holiday spirit during this time of December. So I think that's what takes me out of it. And like I mentioned before, like, I could watch 25 Christmas movies in a row, the 25 days of Christmas, and I could add Die Hard into somewhere in there in one of those days, and I feel like I'll be taken out of the Christmas element. That's just me personally, and that's why I keep coming back to the fact that we do agree that art is subjective and people can make their own interpretations as life goes on and everything. But that doesn't always make it so. Like, it doesn't always mean that it's absolutely right, because if that was the case, then everybody we wouldn't even have this debate right now that it's a Christmas movie. It's left up for interpretation and so on and so forth. But there's just things that kind of takes me out of the element of the holiday spirit. For me, that's what it's all about more than anything. Because to me, a Christmas movie has to give me the holiday spirit. At least, I don't know if it does for you guys, but it doesn't for me. But that doesn't still take away the fact that it's still a great movie. I just have trouble identifying it as a Christmas movie. Like, the same thing also with, like, let's say with a movie that people think that is a Christmas movie, but I don't consider it, is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I don't consider it a Christmas movie because it first takes place in Thanksgiving and then it leads into Christmas and so on and so forth. And it's not so in your face with the holiday spirit. If anything, you could call it a holiday movie, but I don't think you can call it a Christmas movie. Same thing with Trading Places. You know, first it takes place during Christmas time and then it goes to New Year's. And so it kind of takes that out of it. So again, maybe a holiday movie, not a Christmas movie. And the 2 point that I'm making with those two movies that I just made right now is that as much as I love those movies, they don't put me in the holiday spirit. If you show me Bad Santa, you show me Deck the Halls, you show me Four Christmases, you show me the Santa Claus, you show me National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, you show me Elf, you show me Home Alone, you show all these other Christmas movies, they make me feel like I'm in the holiday spirit. That's just me personally. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way. And if you guys want to leave it as a Christmas movie, you're more than welcome to. I mean, it is art. It's up for interpretation, and we live in a free country. We're blessed to have these kind of ideas and so on and so forth. I'm just simply saying that I don't know if I qualified it as a Christmas movie because out of all those movies that I just mentioned, Die Hard is the exception because it doesn't make me feel like I'm in the holiday spirit. That still doesn't take away from the fact that it's a great movie. It's a great action movie. And yes, I don't deny that it takes place during Christmas, but the fact that it doesn't give me the holiday spirit doesn't make me identify it as a Christmas movie.
I get that. Well, you're a booster. You want the holiday spirit. You want to get into it.
Exactly.
Guys, as we start to wind down, let me just to conclude this, just ask one question that may kind of wrap it up in a bow.
Right.
If you were to suck out all of the Christmas references, all the elements, the colors, the references to it, any spoken dialogue of the word Christmas, do we still have the same movie? Is it still as good? Is it really a Christmas movie if it can exist without Christmas? I think that's the ultimate factor. And Hugo, let's start with you.
Well, it would still be a great movie just because of, you lead when you watch Die Hard and you're not even having the Christmas debate. Like, say you're just watching it and you're just like, yeah, I want to see a good action movie. It could still just be that, and that'd be fine. Honestly, I saw Die Hard with a Vengeance first before I saw Die Hard.
Same here. Yep.
So it's like, and I think the Christmas elements, they accentuate the movie. They don't make the movie. And again, it's an action movie. It is an action movie first and foremost. That is unequivocal, however you want to put it. You don't put up Die Hard with It's a Wonderful Life or Christmas Carol or Jingle All the Way. Yeah, exactly. Or the Muppet Christmas Carol. That's
which is the best Christmas movie, but I digress.
Exactly. You don't put it up with the Muppet Christmas Carol. You don't put it up with Jingle All the Way. You don't put it up with the Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
But all those movies cannot exist without the Christmas element. If you're saying Die Hard can,
no. What I'm saying is, if you take those elements out, no, we're not really having this debate. But what I'm saying is, you take those elements out, it's still a great action movie. You know what I mean? And to me, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
That's undisputable.
Yeah, the Christmas debate, it adds to the mystique of the movie. It adds for good discourse, is why we're having this episode and why, Marv has content. But again, what I'm saying is, it's still a great action movie, and the Christmas stuff does not, like, it does, to me, it doesn't take away from the fact that it's a good action movie, and that I wouldn't, like, again, it's in that realm of, if it's on, all right, we're watching it. You see what I'm saying? So I think that you take the Christmas stuff away, it does change the narrative, and you don't have that the evolution of the reaction and the reception from it over time. That absolutely changes it. But if you take those elements away, it doesn't make it a bad movie. It doesn't take away from the greatness, obviously, in my opinion, of Bruce Willis and the action shots and the kill shots, the kill scenes, and this and that. It doesn't take away from that. It just doesn't. You know what I mean? Because he's a Jersey guy. He's just doing Jersey guy things in it. So,
bingo.
So that's my take. That's my 2 cents.
See, I agree. I think that, yes, you could take those elements away. Anything Christmas related, just remove all of that from the movie. Still an amazing action movie. But I think the fact that it's Christmas Eve and it's the reason he's getting together with his family after, I forget however many months it's been, that he's been, on the other side of the country, or they've been on the other side of the country, rather. I feel like that raises stakes. I think the stakes change if it's not Christmas. Because, like I said, so much is a catalyst. Like, you can't cut the power. It's Christmas Eve, or it's just like, it's Christmas, the season of miracles. Or maybe there's nobody in the building for the thieves. They're not terrorists, they're thieves, to break in and make all this happen. Like, they're able to do it because it's Christmas Eve. I just feel like all of that adds to the movie. I feel like everything gets ratcheted up because there's that, like, but it's Christmas. You can't die on Christmas. Marv, you started with that. It's like, you can't die on Christmas. There's nothing worse than becoming a Christmas spirit during Christmas. Like, don't do it. So
I love it.
anyway, for me, I think the stakes change. It's still a great movie, but I think the fact that it's Christmas and that the way the holiday season, tugs on people's heartstrings and gives them the warm, fuzzy feelings, I think it just makes it that much more like you're that much more hopeful that everything's going to work out. The bad guys lose, the good guys win. And that's what I think changes. But as an action movie, yes, undisputed, it's top 5 for sure. I mean, I'm saying without debate. People will say it's the best, but it's like it has to be in the top 5 because of legacy, because it spawned so many imitators, and because it was one of the first of that breed of movie, along with Lethal Weapon and Beverly Hills Cop, where it was wisecracking cop, and it wasn't just like, it wasn't Serpico or something like that, where it was serious, like it changed like the cop dynamic, where it's just like, oh, cops can be fun. I bet a lot of dudes signed up to be cops, because they grew up watching those movies. Whereas, in 70s cop movies, probably not so much.
Right.
Anyway, all that to say, I think the stakes change. And just to note, Trading Places, totally December watch for me. You put on Trading Places for me this week, I'm a happy guy. You put on the Santa Claus, I'm jumping out a window.
that might be, that Trading Places might be my Christmas watch this year since the folks are gone.
Strong.
Like, I think so. Plus, it's Eddie Murphy.
But again, I'm not gonna fight anybody on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a new movie.
December movie. It is like during the month. I don't need to watch it the week of Christmas, but since I haven't gotten to it yet, like sometime in the next 3 days, I'll be popping in Trading Places.
Oh, facts, big facts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can watch Trading Places 365 days a year. So
Totally. And Die Hard, and and I'm up at Christmas Carol.
You had me stumped there.
Muppet Christmas Carol.
For sure. All right. To close out, Jason, final thoughts. Can you take the elements out of the movie, and is it still the same movie if you take the Christmas out of it?
I think that if you even take the Christmas elements out of it, it's still a great action movie because before, first and foremost, I think one of the things that people are not aware of is that before Bruce Willis was cast in the movie, they were thinking more of like Sylvester Stallone or Harrison Ford or even Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I feel like if you added those actors into it, then it would have been just a regular generic movie where like, oh, it's just another Commando or it's just another Cobra, so on and so forth. They wouldn't have the charisma. I think that what made the movie was the fact that Bruce Willis's charisma and his personality as an everyday man. He's not a superhero. It's not like this jacked up dude that's in the gym and so on and so forth. He's just a regular Joe, just like you and me, that just is smarter than the rest of the other guys, and also a wisecracking detective that he's able to, seize the day and save the day and overtake these terrorists. But you also see that he through many times in the movie that his character is also vulnerable. I mean, he steps on fucking broken glass and he's walking around the entire movie with bloody feet, and he has to overcome all that stuff. He has to he has to watch out for the fact that any terrorist can come at any which way direction, so on and so forth. He's not a superhero, and some of these guys are like 6'6" and he's like 5'10", my height or something like that. And he needs a machine gun, or he has to use sheer will in order to actually, take over these guys. And I think I also think the fact that his personality, his sense of humor, is actually what makes the character. Because if it wasn't for that character, then we would have a bunch of these these stoic characters like the Terminator or whatever, just phoning it in just to get through the movie and so on and so forth. So he added a certain charm to that movie, and then. Before then, there was a lot of action movies that had these spectacular action sequences, but I thought that the realism in this one, especially with the blowing up of Nakatomi Towers and the gunfights and doing this, was so realistic that it was sort of a game changer. And I think that's what gives it its classic status, as opposed to any other generic action movie out there. And that's why so many other action movies these days, even still to this day in 2022 going into 2023, are always trying to find the next Die Hard. Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard this, Die Hard that, Die Hard in Cuba, whatever the case may be. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So I just mentioned all of these points and how much of a great movie that Die Hard is, and not once did I ever have to mention that anything Christmassy in it. So I think if you even take those Christmas elements out of it, it still doesn't change the fact that this is a great fucking action movie. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers.
Oh, nice exit. Nice exit.
We're not going to beat that. That's the sign off.
Well,
I popped off early.
Cut the feed.
And here's one last one from the chat. Shout out to Derek Dorda. He says Bruce Willis is New Jersey's Batman, and I couldn't agree more. Shout out to Bruce Wayne, Bruce Willis.
I think that's the best thing anybody said on the chat all day.
Hey, you guys all made great points. Thank you for making time for this. I would have left this going another hour if we could, but I had to step out for a second because someone was actually knocking on my door. But guys, thank you so much for this.
Without telling me you're watching the show.
Guys, thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. I hope we can all meet up in person and continue this debate over brewskis or anything over Christmas snacks or something. But it's been awesome. We're wrapping up here. Bravehearts, if you liked what you saw, the usual YouTube jazz, subscribe, thumbs up, notification bell, comments, leave your thoughts in the comments, and follow these guys. Follow the You Go Boy podcast, follow Chris Abalo's podcast Experiment, follow First Class Second Place podcast, and yeah, man, and have a merry,
merry everything.
Yippee-ki-yay, merry everything.
I'm gritting my teeth while I say this. Happy holidays. I can't say what I really want to say.
But all right, guys, stay brave and keep on keeping on. Peace.
And as always, yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers.